Now, in Togo, a protest movement calling for the ouster of President Faure Gnassingbe has waned in intensity. Many of the protests turned deadly, with security forces cracking down heavily on demonstrators. But the last of the protests dates back to January 26, and that actually got it a very poor showing in numbers. So what is at the heart of the sudden shift or disinterest with what was once a sustained and passionate call for change in government in Togo? Hanan.
Eh bien, justement, Jerry, nous allons tenter de répondre à ces questions.
Indeed, let's hear the point of view of a representative of a civil society on these divisions within the Togolese opposition, Father Pierre-Marie Chanel Afonigon. Hello, and thank you for joining us this morning. What do you think sparked of these divisions within the coalition, and especially within the coalition of 14, which is the flagship of the protest movement against Togo's ruling government?
Je ne veux pas me mêler à des analyses sur leur
I do not want to get involved in the analysis of their disintegration, but I must note that whether they are political actors or other political parties, what's happening is an opportunity for those who engage in politics in Togo to put the general interest, the common good, that is the happiness of all our people, at the heart of their action. Without these, it's a set of self-interests that can be expressed in form of leadership based on the ego. On the person, and which ultimately does not unify efforts to allow Togo to recover and seriously begin its development around the strong and republican institutions.
Since 2017, civil society groups in Togo and the coalition there chose protest marches as a means of pressure to demand constitutional reforms in power, but without success. This surely proved to be a strategy that's not working, isn't it?
I personally think, and I believe that this must also be the opinion of the steering committee of the movement, of which I'm spokesperson, that we cannot build living together simply by being on the street. We are on the street for fairly clear objectives, and here too, I think it's a challenge for all the players in the political life of our country, the ruling party and other parties, to be able to favor dialogue. In our country, we have the impression that our political actors, who are basically brothers and sisters because they have in common the Togolese citizenship, do not want to talk to each other sincerely and deeply to get the country out of this crisis. And that is a bit of a pity when you look at the development of political life in Togo. But we pray and work so that the different actors can take more of the path of dialogue, which we believe is the ideal way to find a solution.
Pour terminer, Monsieur Afonion,
and finally, Father Afonion, what do you learn from what's happening in Algeria in relation to the political situation in Togo? I believe that we can learn from what is happening in Algeria. What we can learn is that, on one hand, there have been peaceful demonstrations because the army has refrained from using violence and brutality against the people. And on the other hand, the army disowned the president who wanted to run for a fifth term. Whereas in Togo, what happens frequently when there are demonstrations, there can be tear gas that is fired, and violence can sometimes be committed, and sometimes deaths are reported and people are killed by gunshots. Anyway, there are two different distinct situations, but what may be interesting is to see that the Algerian people unanimously, armed as a population, have imposed on the president the real will of the people. Is this a lesson for Togo? I don't know. I'm not a political scientist or politician, but I just see and make connections.